Is Aaron Judge the greatest right-handed hitter of all time? I think so. We're going to dive into it today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the BSBLR Show. Lots of good content, guys. We're on Spotify, Instagram, all of the social media handles are going to be here. Make sure you give us a follow, a shout, comment. Let me know. Am I wrong? What do you think? We're going to dive into it today, guys. First, we're looking at the 4-year peak right now of Aaron Judge. Let's dive deeper into that 4-year peak. I want to take those 4 years and compare them against your favorite right-handed hitter of all time. There's a lot of names we're going to dive into. Let's start. The first one here, guys, Albert Pujols. Here is the 4-year peak comparison with him and Aaron Judge. Who do you like there? I think this is, kind of up in the air. I think this is up to your interpretation, but I'll just say this. Aaron Judge, 50 more home runs, 30 higher OPS plus. And I think OPS plus is super important here because basically, guys, look at it like this. If you had 100 OPS plus, you're perfectly league average, right? So that's basically your comparison to the rest of the league. So how Aaron Judge has been versus the rest of the league is different than what it was with Albert Pujols during the steroid era, right? So however you want to value that is up to you. In my opinion, OPS plus is one of the most important stats, especially when you're comparing generations. So this is how we stack up. I like having 30 more OPS plus. Albert Pujols, you can argue though here because there's a lot better counting numbers, or I shouldn't say a lot better, but there's counting numbers you can definitely depend on. Let's look at here with another great player from our generation, Miguel Cabrera. Okay, kind of the same deal. More home runs, more OPS plus for Aaron Judge. I like these numbers better for Aaron Judge as well. Okay, you can take a look if you want to, pause it if you want to, but we're going to move on. Manny Ramirez, here, another one. I think he's viewed as one of the strongest candidates for best right-handed hitter ever because we're looking at, I think he had 7 seasons of plus 1,000 OPS in his season. Wow. Incredible. Think about this. Aaron Judge has 5 of them already in his career. I don't know if he's going to slow down. Here is their comparisons. Here's if we look at these. Kind of the same deal. Aaron Judge, again, more home run, more OPS plus, 2 super important stats when you look at slugging. We can split hairs all we want, but again, you got to realize I'm taking the best 4-year peak from these last 4 years of Aaron Judge and the best 4-year span of Manny Ramirez. I really like Aaron Judge here as well, too. Next, let's look at the peak of Mark McGwire versus Aaron Judge. That's a 4-year span here from 1996 to 99 for McGwire versus Judge now. Look at here. So this gets a little interesting. The first person who's really beaten him in the counting numbers of home runs and OPS. But still look at that OPS plus here. 20 points higher. And look at the accolades. I think the accolades help kind of show you the generations because obviously Mark McGwire during the steroid era. Should he probably have won an MVP during that time? Yeah. Probably 98 over Sammy Sosa if I had to say so myself. But regardless, Aaron Judge winning 3 MVPs, Mark McGwire getting 0, kind of shows the level of competition that McGwire was up against. Whether you want to say that's a hit to Aaron Judge, or I think it almost should be a hit to like the Mark McGwire case here, simply because I think hitters were ahead of pitchers in that time frame. They just were either more juiced or the pitchers weren't throwing as hard. Whatever the case, the hitters were ahead of the pitchers. In today's generation, I think it's easy to really argue that the pitchers are ahead of the hitters. So for Judge to be doing this, I think the eras are important here, and that's just my opinion when we put this together. But the OPS Plus tells you a lot of the story. But I can definitely understand the argument of trying to take Mark McGwire in those 4 years. But just in my opinion, I'm taking Aaron Judge. Next person, Frank Thomas. The only numbers that you're really going to look at Frank Thomas here in that 4-year window are going to be his batting average and his on-base percentage. Past that, you got to love Aaron Judge. 57 more home runs, just a better slugger, and 23 OPS plus. So again, that OPS plus, you're going to hear me harping back on that, but I think it's super important when we're comparing how you do against your competition, and Aaron Judge is just significantly better in those 4-year peaks over those guys. Lastly, let's look at Hank Aaron. Henry Aaron, Hammer and Hank. Here is his 4-year peak. I don't even need to compare. Just look at the green, look at the white. Who do you think wins this? I think it's pretty obvious. All right, so that was just the 4-year peaks, guys. Now let's move it a little bit deeper. I know that sounds like we're handpicking the last 4 years of Aaron Judge, which have been 4 of the greatest in right-handed hitters history, right? Let's bring it to a 9-year peak. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking Aaron Judge's full career and I'm putting it against the 9-year peak of all of those players that I just mentioned who you might think as the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. Let's compare them. Okay, the first one, again, let's put this up, 9-year peak versus Aaron Judge. Albert Pujols. So what do we see here? This one, probably the best case against Aaron Judge, Albert Pujols. Again, we're talking about that 11-year span that Albert Pujols might have been the greatest right-handed hitter ever. But if you can remember, after this stretch, he took a sharp decline as soon as he went over to the Angels. I think he had one really good season. If we look at Baseball Reference, where it was a 148 OPS plus, then it was like above league average, then the rest of his career. I think when you take those 9-year peaks, you got to take Pujols here, regardless of Judge maybe having him by 7 OPS plus. I know that that is a difference, but I don't think I'm going to split hairs there. The counting numbers really go in Albert Pujols' favor here, but I think if we're going to take a look at how Aaron Judge fares the next 5 years of his career, him being a 34-year-old now, let's say he plays till 40, I think I'm taking him having a better stretch, even with just those 5 years over the next 10 of what Albert Pujols was. Next, let's move on to Miguel Cabrera. Again, here, this is from 2007 to 2015, and I just don't think this is close. You're looking at Judge having 64 more home runs, 50 more OPS points, 18 OPS plus, so 18% better in that span. So even with those 9-year windows, Miggy being a Triple Crown winner, multiple MVPs, one of the best right-handed hitters of my lifetime that I've ever watched, and I think Aaron Judge in that 9-year window, it really looks like that's all Aaron Judge. Moving on, Manny Ramirez, 9-year peak, pretty dang good from him. I think this is pretty close. If we look at this is 1998 to 2006, Manny Ramirez, a little bit of that end of that Cleveland days into the Boston Red Sox days. Again, these are the best 9 of Manny. The best 9. I'm taking the best 9 span from him. I think outside of that, his peak wasn't really much. So, or I shouldn't say it wasn't really much, but wasn't as good comparatively to this. Not even close. But again, I think if we go back to OPS plus, that kind of gives the biggest punch for Aaron Judge. That's 179 to a 164. That's a 15% better clip right there. I think when you look back at like how dominant Aaron Judge is, you got to look at the accolades. I think that's really important. If we look here, Manny Ramirez, 0 MVPs. I think that's for a reason. It's not Aaron Judge winning this with his glove. He's just that much more dominant with his bat that he beats Manny Ramirez even in his peak. I will admit though, it is close in some of these counting numbers and some of these overall stats that we're looking at. Mark McGwire, let's look at this span from 1992 to 2000. I think this is the best case against Aaron Judge. Albert Pujols, really good. Mark McGwire, awesome case against him. Because again, if you were looking at how I'm looking at this with the OPS plus, Mark McGwire gets him there too, right? I think even if you look at the counting numbers here, so Mark McGwire played 145 less games and still had 8 more home runs. That's incredible. A 1.133 or 1.113 OPS is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane, regardless of era. And I know the MVPs aren't there to show and the accolades aren't there to show, but having a higher OPS plus and all of these counting numbers, even with being bit by the injury bug, which I think is a big hit to Mark McGwire's legacy, is that obviously the biggest hit being the steroid allegations. But let's just look past that for a second and just kind of see how dominant Mark McGwire was. Incredibly dominant, and definitely has a strong case as one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. Take the steroids how you will. Maybe tell me in the comment section how dumb I am from that take, but I think you just got to look at the overall production, and the production that he had in that 9-year span is absolutely out of this fucking world. So Mark McGwire right there. Now let's move on to Frank Thomas, another name that I said right there. Frank Thomas, again, it's kind of similar to what I was saying in their 4-year peaks. Unless if you're looking at batting average and OBP, Aaron Judge just dominates this category. Doesn't matter what it is. 179 to 169 in OPS plus too. So no matter what numbers you're looking at here, you gotta love Aaron Judge's peak against him. Then lastly, Hank Aaron, right? Again, Henry Aaron, when you look at him, it's just this consistency. If you're looking at his baseball reference page, it's basically 35 to 40 home runs every single year for 20 years, right? Like, he is just the standard of what a slugger is, and there's a reason why he has as many home runs as he did in his career, and he's looked at, 755. He's the guy, right? It's because of that unbelievable level of consistency. But I'm taking Aaron Judge's peak over that 9 years every day, and on Sundays twice on Sundays, right? So look at this. I mean, Judge, he has 1,000 less at-bats. So I think that's big, because if you look at some of those counting numbers are going to go to Henry Aaron a lot. But again, that's 1,000 less at-bats that he had. And you could say, oh, because of availability, et cetera, but I think it's hard to judge against him there. But when you go past the counting numbers and you look at more of the percentage numbers here, it's kind of a landslide here. You got 40 OBP, 40 slugging, 15 higher OPS plus, and being just a really good hitter, he's going to beat him in those categories. And 1,000 less at-bats and had 27 home runs. So you're talking about a guy who had 755, one of the greatest sluggers of all time, and over his best 9 years wasn't as good as Aaron Judge as being a slugger in that category. So those are the big guys of the big right-handed hitters that I compare Aaron Judge against. And again, I think he just beats them. If we look actually in the history of right-handed hitters, or not even the history of right-handed hitters, let's just look at the all-time OPS plus list. The all-time OPS plus list, and this is for your career. So all of Aaron Judge, not taking the 9-year peak, all of Aaron Judge versus all of every player I mentioned, the Hank Aaron's, the Mark McGuire's, all of them, they're OPS plus. This is what this list looks like, okay? Not even just right-handed hitters. This is all time. You have Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Oscar Charleston, Barry Bonds, Lou Gehrig, and Aaron Judge sits there at 6. So he's 6th all time, and he's the first right-handed hitter. So he is the highest on the list as a right-handed hitter. The next highest is Mike Trout at 13th with a 169. That's 10 points difference between him and the next highest right-handed hitter. That's how far everyone's going to fall in terms of their careers. How much is Aaron Judge going to fall in his career? I don't think much at all. I mean, we're talking, he is at the tip of the iceberg of his peak. We just saw maybe his best season ever. And again, that ranks 3rd on the all-time OPS plus list. Do I think he's done? Not at all. I would be shocked if he doesn't have 2, maybe 3 more seasons exactly like what we've seen. His swing is not violent and feeling like there's going to be injury coming from this guy. I think that he's at this level of consistency where, again, guys, think about it this way. He was a slugger, always has been a slugger, and he figured out the slug. Now he's figured out how to bat at a high clip too. Think about it like this. It'd be like if Luis Arias all of a sudden learned how to hit 53 home runs. Aaron Judge just did it backwards. He could hit the home runs. Now he's learning how to hit 330. Think about how insane that is. I mean, that's incredible. And let's go back to that all-time OPS plus list. Everyone on this list either drove a Model T Ford, was in World War II, or is Barry Bonds. And then you have Aaron Judge below that. Put some respect on what this guy's done in his career. I think a lot of times people get bored to what we're seeing. And that's what I felt like happened in the MVP race this year. In the MVP race, it was Cal Raleigh's making history, which he was. An insane season. We're likely never to see something like that again. But you got to see now, too, that this season that Aaron Judge won MVP is the 3rd highest OPS plus season by right-handed hitter of all time, right? Like, this is not something he's doing. This is special. If your OPS plus starts with a 2, you're out of this fucking world. And that's what Aaron Judge is and continues to be. I think sometimes, guys, we got to sit there and appreciate greatness. And this is one of those times. I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm going to say that. I'm not a Yankee fan in any way. But I know what I see right now is something I might not ever see again. And I'm very willing to try to shout that from a mountain so that other people hear this. And I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. That's all I got for you guys today. Again, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Put a comment down there. Tell me I suck. Tell me I'm awesome. Something like that. I want to hear from you guys. Check us out on all of our other videos and other platforms. But thanks again, guys, for listening. Talk to you soon. Peace.